you.
Hi everyone. So let me quickly introduce myself. My name is Rajesh Ranjan. I am founder and CEO of Krishify. So Krishify got started in 2019, and our idea was to build a digital community of farmers, kind of a social network, but dedicated only for agriculture, where farmers could, sort of join the network, engage among themselves, and also sort of connect with other stakeholders in the ecosystem basis their needs and requirements. And that's how we sort of build farmers profile at our end, and then we also work with all types of stakeholders and agriculture brands and companies to give them a targeted community access, either for marketing or for market research, surveying, etc., etc. So that's like a brief of Krishify. Talking about the topic, which is digital intervention in agriculture, right? So we have been hearing a lot about it in the recent past, like a lot of agri companies taking digital initiative, or a lot of agri tech companies being born in the last decade, and especially in the last 5 years, trying out and sort of innovating different kind of models to intervene in multiple value chains within agriculture, and also to bring in innovation at different touch points in a farmer's life cycle, right, from cropping or agriculture perspective. So we'll talk a little bit about it, what kind of digital intervention I see happening, or digital innovation I see happening, and how Krishify has been playing a role in its own capacity, and how I see the future happening in this area, and the kind of opportunities that we are going to have. So I don't have any slides or anything formal to share over here. Just want to keep a casual conversation. So we'll speak for about next 10 minutes or so, and then all of you listening, I can't see how many of you are there, but whoever is listening, I'll just open it up for you guys to just ask me any question or any areas, anything that you would want me to sort of elaborate on or go deeper down. I'll be happy to do that. So coming from the first part of the topic, digital intervention, and how the industry looks at it, right? So I see many agri input companies in the past 5 years, and especially I see post COVID, the trend has changed, right? And companies want to have their own online presence. So seed companies, agrochemical companies, creating or focusing on their building their YouTube channels, YouTube presence, creating a lot of content, and some of the companies doing very helpful content, right? Informative content that actually farmers, care about. Uh, Before COVID, I didn't see that as a trend, except one or two such cases where actually companies were investing in creating videos or any kind of online presence of their brand. The second piece that I see, all companies, and that's where there is also a business opportunity for Krishify, where companies looking to create, go deeper into the data of farmers, that they farmers who have been sort of buying their products, because that's a huge gap if you think from any agrochemical or seed company's perspective, right? So who are their actual customers? Who are the farmers who buy their product? That touch point is entirely missing. So distributors know till distributors in some of the companies know till distributors, and in some of the cases or in some areas till retailers level, right? But who are the farmers who are actually buying and using their products in the soil? That knowledge, that information still remains in a black box for these companies, and that's a huge problem, because whenever let's say a seed company who already has a market, right, in certain area, and the same company in the next season wants to sell seeds or some other product for some other relevant crop, probably it's the same set of farmers who should have bought but they are not able to reach out to them directly, right? So the whole concept of remarketing is missing, and that's a huge potential loss for the companies. So they have to constantly rely on market activities, ATL, BTL, or just remain dependent on whatever the field officers have to tell about, and to what level they are going to go and convince the retailers to push their product, right? So it's a push model. Now consider if these companies had a very clear sense of who their real consumers are, who are the farmers who bought their product, right? So it's not just useful for remarketing in the next season or for the next crop or for cross selling, but also doing a lot of research activities where they want to do market surveys, where they want to go and do some primary research to get a feedback on their existing products, to get a feedback on even competition products or other benchmark products, basis which they can take strategic decisions, basis which they can come up with new product innovation. That entire layer is missing, right? And then how Krishify is helping in that, I'll come to it. Now talking about agri input companies, so we see many different kind of models there, mainly around market linkages, either forward linkage or backward linkage, right? So firstly, around between 2015 to 2020, a lot of companies started with farm level aggregation concept, right? That farmers currently sell to some local aggregator or some local transporter, and that's where they get exploited the most. So that was the belief. So the idea was to go and aggregate directly at the farm, and then take it in the market, either sell at mandis or even bypass the mandi traders, sell it directly to some millers, some processors, or in supermarkets or the whole horeca business category, like hotels, restaurants, cafes. Many companies built around that concept, but then slowly they realized, for most of them, some of them sort of pivoted to some other model, or they just excelled in it. But then the major problem was aggregation on the ground, right? And the reason was very, very limited information. Like, for example, if you know that there is demand for capsicum in the market, right? But at this point of time, who are the farmers, in geographies that is accessible to me and that is closer to the market that I am serving to? Who are the farmers who are growing capsicum, and is it ready to harvest like today? Because real time data, real time information. So because of that information gap, number one, this model became highly inefficient for some of those companies. Second was the logistical and fundamental challenges, operational challenges. So aggregating in itself at farm level, because many farmers would be small landholding farmers, their produce would not be enough to fill even a smaller truck, right? So then you have to sort of somehow build that logistics to be able to go and collect from every farm. But then there is a problem of standardization. So first you need to grade and sort and then pack and then do the financials with the farmers. And the third problem was trust, right? Because it's, even if you're going and buying from the farms, it's not easy as a company, as a brand, for you to go and just pick it up, right, at a price which is probably you are giving them a higher price than what a local aggregator would offer them. But then they have a relationship, they have a trust, and if you are going to break that trust, and if you are going to do the business directly with these farmers, so there is a premium attached with it, right? So ultimately, because there is no there is lack of that trust between you and the farmers you want to do business with, you have to pay a premium, which might not be sustainable in short term from a business model perspective. It might become sustainable in long term, but you'll have to wait for the time till that trust builds, right? So then, a lot of companies started innovating. Two type of further innovation, like step one innovation happened. One was, some companies said that just aggregating everything and anything at farm level is not going to happen, right? So and rightly so, because of because all commodity has its own value chain, right? In terms of the way it is treated, the way it is packed, the way it is sourced, the way it is procured, the way harvesting happens, and where it is going to reach in the market to get maximum outcome. So one innovation was to focus on specific commodities where you can really go deep, understand each interaction in the value chain, the importance of each node within the value chain, and sort of build it out. And the other part of learning, I would not say innovation, but the learning was maybe building a model where you don't have to work directly at farmer level, because that is highly fragmented, right? So then you go at +1 level, where you work with those local aggregators who basically have built their own learning and who have educated themselves because they have been doing this for probably decades, right? So they deal with the farmers, and the company starts dealing with those aggregators, and then build supply chain and solve supply chain logistics problem to take the produce to the market, right? So that kind of intervention I have been seeing around these companies. And so input output, agri-tech companies on input side, a lot of them created marketplaces, and that's a large opportunity because we all know how huge the market is, but again fragmented. Some basic fundamental problems that farmers have, right? So for a minute, if we talk about the fundamental problems a farmer faces, right, or something that needs to be solved at core, is number one, the right and timely advisory, and I would also add personalization to it, right? Because every farmer, in my mind, every farm is a different farm, every farmer is a different farmer. So even the advisory cannot be standard the way we used to do, so for example, a TV program to give advisory to the farmers, that can't work, right? Because then it is not personalized at all. It is personalized to a crop, but it is not personalized to a farmer or a farm or a farmland, right? So personalized advisory becomes one key area where farmers definitely need help. Then access to quality input, right? And then financial help, and then the forward linkage. So we spoke about forward linkage. The first two, advisory and marketplace, the advisory and access to input, those are linked, right? So it has always been there, like advisory led input selling model. So a lot of agri-tech companies started from there. They gave advisory for free, and the intent was to sell input. There, the fundamental problem again that comes is, demand is there, everything is there, but then fulfillment becomes challenging, because most of the e-commerce models that we see, right? So that relies on a lot of third-party intervention. Third party, as a marketplace, you don't hold products, right? You don't store them, you don't have an inventory, right? The pure marketplace model. So you work with n number of sellers who have their own inventories, who have their own inventory management or warehouse management systems. You just create demand for them, right? And once the demand is there, they need to fulfill it using another third party intervention, which is logistics company, right? Or logistics aggregators. The problem here is that farmers live in remote areas, and most probably the farmer who is willing to purchase online might not have easy retail access in their areas, because they might be living in very, very remote locations, right? But unfortunately, in those remote locations, logistics is also not solved yet, right? So that's why sending products in such areas becomes very, very difficult. And the cases are like, farmers order and then they receive it after 7 days or even 10 days in some of the cases. And that's why returns are very, very high in this segment, whoever follows e-commerce model. Because of high returns, the entire math gets skewed, right? So there is a huge cost of return involved apart from the forward logistics cost, and that makes the model quite unsustainable. So that is one problem that again agri-tech companies working around input face. And because this is advisory led commerce, so it's not like the way we shop on Flipkart or any other popular marketplace where we just go and look through the product details and buy, right? We first, as farmers, we first need somebody to answer our questions, right? Validate that this is the right product that can be used in the farm. And just not anybody can do the job, right? So somebody who is qualified enough has to first give me on-call advisory for free, right? And then probably as a farmer, I am going to buy product through them. So advisory cost, further makes the situation worse. And the third problem there that I see is low margins, right? So the way this whole model, the whole distribution model has been built up in so much time, in so many decades over time, that there is a set pattern, right? So company gives the products to CNF and from their distributors and then wholesalers, retailers, and then finally to the farmers, right? So at each stage, there is minimal margin on which this whole category works in most of the mainstream categories, right? So branded hybrid seeds or even let's say agrochemicals, margins are not very high. So either, as a company, you become stockist first, you buy products directly from the companies, you store it, but then you have different kind of costs attached, right? So because of low margins, this business model even, further takes a hit. So then, but we see some companies playing decent role into it, into this segment. And the model that finally evolved was, you have to have some kind of omni-channel presence, where you own some stores in any model, like company owned stores or franchise or partners or really owned stores. And through those stores, you can actually reach out to the farmers, but at least you are sitting at two different nodes. So your margins will be slightly or relatively thicker, and you don't have to invest on the last mile logistics, because you have a hyper local presence through your offline or physical store presence, right? So and then, of course, adding your own brands or getting into categories which has higher margins sums it up, right? So potentially such businesses can start making positive cash flow. So that's like on the entire advisory and input side. Then financial aid to the farmers, right? So I mean, the fundamental issue again is, farmers, most of the farmers don't have credit history, right? So any bank or any lender has difficulty in deciding whether to give loan to a farmer or not. If to give, how much money we can take the risk with, and if even if we decide, then that then how much should be the interest rate, right? Because for me, or let's say for any urban audience who maybe has taken some education loan in the past, some car loan in the past, or who owns credit cards, they have a credit history, they have regular income source, and the banks have access to all that data, so they can easily make such decisions. But in case of farmers, this is actually very, very difficult, right? So there is still I think not a lot of innovation has happened in farmers financing. So a company who actually understands farmers in a much deeper way, considering their profile, their cropping pattern, their assets, their ownership, their cash flow. So a company who has that can actually potentially do that kind of risk profiling, and then work closely with the bank to give credit access, offer credit access to these farmers, right? So these are 3-4 different areas where I see a lot of digital intervention happening, or at least opportunity in the coming time to happen. And traditional companies, like for example, FMCG brands now want to go backward and trace everything till the farm level, right? So where the input is coming from, that I process and create my brand. So and there, some of these agri tech companies can easily go and plug in. Now coming to Krishify. So Krishify primarily, for farmers, it's like a social network, but primarily at its core, it's a data company, right? So I'll even, let me just share my screen and show you, just give you a sense of what kind of data do we capture, right? So this is a dashboard where I can just select any month, year range, right? So here, October 2022, November 2030, I select Uttar Pradesh. Here I have already selected organic fertilizer uses, right? So here you see, these are the all blue dots are cluster of farmers who are interested in using organic fertilizers, right? I'll just put a crop, let's say paddy, right? So I'll get to know sample of paddy farmers who are active on Krishify, right, who have been doing some activity, and we are able to basically track their data, right? So and these are pretty large clusters, right? I can even zoom in and look at that data at district level or gram panchayat level or even at village level, right? Who these farmers are and what are they doing, because I know their trend and what so these are, see, smaller clusters. So around 13,973 farmers from Meerut, some 2,200 farmers from Dehradun, some 9,200 farmers from Haldwani region or nearby region are paddy growers, and they are active on Krishify. These are their search patterns. So somebody searching paddy 600, paddy seeds, or things like paddy cutter, paddy thresher. So if I know which areas and when people are searching for paddy thresher, right? I know, you could, understand or sense by now what kind of data am I talking about. And then the pattern of sowing or harvesting, right? So in which area, and this data here in this dashboard you are seeing at state level, but within that state, I can actually tell you from the past few seasons behavior, in which district or in which tehsil sowing usually happens at what time, right? Because in certain areas sowing starts early, and hence harvesting will happen early, and hence the next crop will start early, right? So you have that sense already as an input. Now just talking about the applications of it, as an input company, you can create the whole strategy about your seeds distribution, right? In which areas at what time your seed should be available, and not just seed but also your agrochemicals. And regarding agrochemicals, to get a deeper data, you should look at the right side of the graph, where we have patterns of disease outbreak, right? So for example, let's take this curve. So bacterial leaf blight entirely in UP happened mostly in September, right? But if I just go a little bit deeper in that data, I see that there are certain districts where bacterial leaf blight was most prominent in July and hardly seen in September. But there are areas where the disease started appearing in, August, and it went till end of September, right? So if you have such early signs, again, as an input company, you can take strategies around doing some market activities where your product might actually be needed or mostly be needed, and which way should you plan your distribution. So these are just some snapshots of data that we generate. There is like a whole bunch of more information and insights that we own, and then we use this to personalize our whole content that we provide to the farmers on one side, and on the other side we use this data to help companies uh, do better strategies, or they can do market research, etc., through which we as a business monetize. So that's like a snapshot of Krishify and digital initiatives in the space. I think it's more than 20 minutes. So now I'll just I will open it to all the participants, all the viewers. So just hit me with your questions or anything that you would want me to speak about.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Mr. Rajesh, for the detailed talk. We'll take up some questions. So, what are some of the key digital technologies that have shown promise in transforming the agricultural sector?
Pardon, can you please repeat?
What are some of the key digital technologies that have shown promise in transforming the agricultural sector?
Okay. So, see, number one, awareness, right? So, unless farmers are aware of something new happening, some new type of technology or some new type of, farming practice, unless there is awareness, and awareness not just about the technology, but also about some of the successful case studies, right? So, if some farmer tried, let's say in paddy DSR method, and they actually were able to achieve higher yield, now digital tools basically help us make other farmers aware of this fact, so that they start adopting those new practices, and then just extrapolate this example in any case, like some kind of advisory. Let's say, as in our platform, if we see some early signs that from certain geography, even when some, let's say, early 5-10 farmers have reported a disease, right? That means all the farmers in nearby area are probably going to face the same issue. So even before it actually happens on everyone's farmland, we actually send a notification out to all those farmers that be a little cautious. This kind of disease has started appearing in your area here and there, right? And this is the preventive measure you can take, even to sort of prevent it from appearing in your farm. So there are a lot of such things. I mean all the areas that I spoke about had digital intervention involved.
Okay. And how do digital interventions help in innovating crop yield and overall agricultural productivity?
Again, so personalized advisory, I said. So just to give one data, right? So on an average, the per acre yield of Maharashtra farmers into sugarcane is approximately 2x as compared to, I mean, double of the produce achieved by sugarcane farmers in UP, right? So there can be exceptions, but I'm just talking about aggregate level data. So sugarcane farmers in Maharashtra are getting 2x yield of what a sugarcane farmer in UP would do. Why is that, right? Because probably better farming practices and personalized advisory, right? So farmers in Maharashtra generally take consultation or advisory solutions from crop experts and consultants, right? And some of the digital companies as well. So I mean, just an example like that is a massive thing that actually these these digital tools can do. Personalized advisory in itself has a scope of increasing the overall yield and hence profitability of farmer by at least 30-40%.
Okay. And can you discuss some successful case studies where digital solutions have significantly impacted small-scale farmers in developing countries?
Uh-huh. Okay. So uh, there are a lot of such cases, right? So even if we look at, let's say, countries like China, right? So in China, the way yield has improved over the years in certain crops where the farm size was similar to what Indian farmers have, right? So theirs has increased massively. In certain countries, Southeast Asian countries like Vietnam, for example, in some of the cases for some of the crops that has actually helped. Even in if you look at certain pockets in India, right? So I just took one example. There are multiple such examples, especially in horticulture, if you see, right? So time again and again, we have seen wherever such innovation has happened, right? Maybe with a bit better input product, with a better seed product, farmers' yield has improved. Digital intervention just helps you propagate that information faster and in a much personalized manner.
Okay. And what are the major challenges that farmers may encounter when adopting digital interventions, and how can these challenges be mitigated?
Uh, so while using these, can you please come again?
Yeah, one second. What are the major challenges that farmers may encounter when adopting digital interventions, and how can these challenges be mitigated?
Okay. Can I also know like who is asking this question? Just a name and some profile about the person who is asking.
Actually, the questions are just arriving from the back end, so it'll take some time to take out the information.
No worries. So to answer your question, see, first of all, farmers can really be new to digital technologies, right? Even so to say, new to smartphone. So some of the times, using these digital solutions to its maximum potential becomes a challenge for them. So and that's kind of a shared responsibility, right? So companies who are actually working in this segment, and as Krishify, we realize this problem because we have created the largest network, right? So we see, how challenging is that. So we are just figuring out ways in how can we simplify that whole process. That and even if it's coming on app, how do we simplify the overall app experience that every farmer is able to just use it, consume it, uh, irrespective of the regions where they are from, irrespective of their profile, their digital literacy or their language, right? So we are just trying to bypass all those barriers, because mostly if you see most traditional ways, the way advisory was distributed or digital information was in any kind of information was distributed, number one, it was not personalized, and number two, it was very cumbersome for anybody, not just farmer but anybody, to consume it, right? So as a company, we are simplifying it. Farmers can just subscribe to, I'm not just saying Krishify, but subscribe to some of such platforms or digital initiatives and get those information at ease. Number two is trust, right? So I mean, digitally things are easier to share. So how do you trust which information is right for you, and which one is wrong, right? So that's why I thought there is a need of a dedicated agriculture community, right? So maybe, and we have a parallel, right? So we have a parallel, let's say Facebook. On Facebook also people connect, farmers connect, they have groups, they have people who are sharing their experiences, their knowledge, but then it's difficult for you to segregate like who is actually a farmer and who is not farmer. But on Krishify, it's a whole farming community. So everything that comes on Krishify is relatively more trustworthy, right? And then we do certain exercise to do some kind of credibility score with every person who is sharing any information on the platform, so that the farmers would know if this is a credible source of information and I should actually follow it or just ignore it.
And what specific measures are being taken to ensure that digital interventions in agriculture are accessible to farmers from diverse socio-economic backgrounds?
Right. So uh, one is, see, when you talk about digital solutions, right? So smartphone intervention is actually a revolutionary intervention. I mean, so I'll just divide the whole audience in two parts. One, smartphone holders, and other one who are non-smartphone holders. I will keep all smartphone holders at the same level, right? Because once they have a smartphone access, and let's say they are accessing Krishify or any other tool or platform for such kind of information, whatever layer of socioeconomic status they are at, they all have, equal access to, or same access to information. They are at par. The problem is with those who are still not on smartphones, right? So for them, it actually, I mean, even for the companies, it becomes difficult to reach out to them, right? So there, uh, we ourselves, so and there we assume that there is some feature phone or some kind of phone accessibility. So there we are planning and building features to sort of enable non-smartphone holders as well to benefit, at least some of the features, avail some of the features, some of the benefits that we have created, right? So for example, they can share their concerns or issues on an SMS, and then some of our expert panel will reply on it, and the farmer would be able to access it again back, right? Or some IVR based solutions where farmers can ask questions and they can receive answers from experts or from community. So we are working in those areas also to sort of deal with unavailability of or unaccessibility of smartphones at farmer level.
And how do you see the role of AI and machine learning shaping the future of agriculture?
So as I said, every farmland or every farmer is different, right? So whatever you tell them, it has to have the personalization element, right? So for example, we use AI at multiple levels. So we have a lot of videos coming in from our creators, from our experts, and also from the brands. Now what we do is basically automatically we try to uh, you know tag every video with some of the very uh, extensive parameters, right? So the video is about, let's say, potato. It talks about crop protection. It also talks about some kind of new product that can be used to increase the yield, right? So to that level, automatic tagging happens. Otherwise, manually, that is not possible. Second is understanding the users, the farmer's persona, their profile, their interest, right? And then using both of these together to decide what should be the next content, right, that this farmer should be getting. So from profile, we try to understand, okay, this crop related content would be useful or not. Then depending upon their persona, we decide whether this type of content of that crop would be relevant or not. And then we also take into consideration the season, right, or what other farmers in their area, some of the similar farmers in their area are doing, right? So basis that we use a lot of AI and ML stuff to create that personalization engine, and to ensure that whatever farmers, if a farmer is watching 10 videos on Krishify app, they should end of the day say that 6 or 7 of them were highly personalized. and were actually meaningful and helpful for them at that point of time. So, and the same goes into advisory, right? So for a farmer, soil condition could be different, the variety that they are using could be different, uh, access to irrigation facility could be different, access to labors could be different, right? So considering all those variable parameters, and when you make a combination of all these parameters, almost all farmer are going to look unique, right, in their own way. So then whatever the standardized advisory or package of practices, now considering all those varying parameters, you can actually personalize those package of practice and advisory solutions also for every single farmer. So that is one of the use cases where AI and ML can directly be used to help farmers. And then there are multiple other ways, depending upon all the data that you collect, right? So I was talking about risk profiling of a farmer to give him credit access. So even let's say a farmer who has no credit history in the past, and hence I cannot create a CIBIL score or a credit worthiness score. But depending upon some of the data that I am able to connect using AI, I can actually be able to create a risk profiling and say whether this farmer deserves a loan or not. And so these are two examples. Then there could be a lot of things around uh, uh, probably assessing the quality of their produce and helping them the right price for what they have grown. Or it can go some at like understanding the various type of interaction and touch point in the entire value chain. You can at every places a place almost you can use AI today.
Right. So just a couple of more questions. How does the IoT devices contribute to the development of smart farming practices?
We don't devise smart farming practices, right? So we are just the ones that develop the platform, and then we rely on all our partners who actually do that. We just help them reach out to the right set of farmers with the right set of information.
Okay. And yeah, I think it will be last question. In your opinion, what would be the most crucial area for further research and development in the field of digital interventions in agriculture in the coming years?
I would say, I don't know, I don't exactly know the context of that question, right? But I would say, uh, I think any kind of innovation that is going to take place in the near future, something around sustainability, sustainable agriculture. People talk a lot about regenerative farming, but actually using digital intervention to support, I mean, first of all, make farmers aware about regen farming, then support regen farming, give them the right kind of advisory, and maybe even on the market linkages side, right, help them get the right price. So I think personally, I feel sustainable farming is an area that the entire ecosystem should work towards. And even with digital intervention, that is the area I would like to sort of move forward towards too.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Rajesh, I don't see any more questions from our participants. So now we have come to end of question round. On behalf of agricultureinformation.com, we'd like to thank you for the detailed presentation and answering all the questions in depth. And we also like to thank all the participants for joining this meeting. The meeting will now be closed.
Sure. Thank you.
You're most welcome. And just for information, I'm sharing your contact details with our participants.
Okay. Done.
Thanks.
Thanks. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, brother.